exercise was for people. How did you find it?
I really enjoyed it, and that was partly because we had, it sounded on the surface, I think, like we had sort of different perspectives on conflict in terms of maybe liking it, liking it well enough and talking a bit about that, and myself saying, you know, I don't really like it, but I think so that was very interesting on its own. But I realized it's not so much that I don't like it, but I don't mind stumbling and fumbling and sort of trying, and you know, as long as there's a basis of emotional safety from which to know that, you know, that's okay within that, and that it's not going to create a complete disconnection.
You got in touch with a deeper value for yourself, for emotional safety.
Yeah, which is actually a phrase that I've been thinking of quite fairly recently. It came to me, and the Santo identified that very early on when she was guessing. I thought that was very perceptive. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I ask you, I'm just curious, what did you notice when that guess landed? How did it feel for you?
It was like, wow, because I've been literally thinking of those exact words myself, so it felt reassuring. It felt like there was a connection between us, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah, there's nothing quite so soothing as being gotten by another human being.
Gotten.
Indeed. Anyone else?
I was quite surprised that I didn't feel that bad about conflict. I felt and then I realized that what I like, if it's more open, what is scary for me is unspoken conflict, or when somebody's got something going on and they won't say anything, or they want to keep it all. And I realized I've got skills where it's more open. And also, even when it's led to a very uncomfortable time for me, that it's a time where I've grown a lot. And so that fits in with things about discovery and learning that are important to me. Because then I go, oh my God, that stupid thing I did. And then you have to integrate it, which takes a long time. But
I'm
it's
kind of
valid.
hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong, just different layers of needs.
Yeah.
Openness and transparency leads to more safety, trust, discovery, growth, learning.
And I have a belief that we're all the same, but sometimes you can't tell, like for quite a long time. You don't get through that layer of frozenness.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the richness of conflict. Pretty easy. Did anyone find this exercise hard to stay with the needs guesses?
Oh, yeah. The light was, you know, we need to work on the light.
Yeah. Keep those greased up.
How did you, you know, this communication is a skill, and it's, you know, outside of the class, I've been in meetings with people who've gone through MVC, and it's sometimes easy, it can sound condescending when you ask that question. So how do you feel? You know, there's you know, it's, how do you
Yeah, when you're in the workaday world and things are observation, details, and requests, and you're just kind of like trying to, working together, but task-oriented. It's very hard to switch into the more right-brained, emotional, kind of vibrating human field. So Eric actually taught me this one. Is it about blank? Because it's sort of neutral, and you can get to the more, so if you're in a work situation and you go, I can hear your frustration. Is it about efficiency? And that's not as threatening to go there, but efficiency, and if it lands for that person, then you have more of a human connection, and you can attune to what's really big for them. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, if they're still on the left brain, then I'm trying to switch to the right brain. So acknowledging where they're at, because that's the opener to the question.
Yeah,
So
and knowing that there's
open
layers.
Open that door, okay. Yeah.
Can I add something?
Sure.
So first of all, again, in nonviolent communication empathy, how do you feel is not empathy. It's do you feel? And when someone's more left hemisphere oriented, or when it's that context where it's there isn't the same support for feelings and needs, I often don't go to the feeling realm. I go, these are need realms. So when I'm with someone who I sensing this isn't a place where they want to speak about their feelings, I'll just say, do you have a need for trust here? Or is this about accountability? What else? Is respect really important to you, right? I won't even use the word need, and I'm not even talking about their feelings. Because I find that either if it's a workaday place where people aren't doing much right hemisphere, they'll still hear needs. They'll really appreciate having their needs reflected back. Or if it's someone who just doesn't like to be in the feeling realm, they still tend to, like I have some family members who are quite left hemisphere. So I don't reflect their feelings back to them. But I often will say, yeah, I hear you really want fairness, respect. And it's usually, yeah. And sometimes then that opens up a little bit more of their emotions. But if it doesn't, then I just keep reflecting the needs. Is that helpful?
Yep, it's good.
I was finding it challenging to come at it for more than a couple of words that came to my mind when we were having the two-way conversation, or the one and the other. And looking through this list, I couldn't quickly identify which ones were applicable, except for clarity I saw. And I'm thinking that competency might have been one of them. But the other one that I don't see here, and maybe I'm just not scanning very well, was like getting permission, like being asked for permission.
Yeah, when you get asked for permission, what does that do for you?
Right, so I guess it's being inclusion, respect, worth, equality. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of things from that.
Yeah, sometimes I can't get to the needs level right away, so I'll go, oh, hold on a sec, let's work backwards. So if the movie rolled like this, exactly the way you want it, would that meet needs for knowing you matter, for caring, and then you could work the needs.
Okay. Yeah, finding words.
And was it hard, just inquiring about your experience, trying to scan and get the right word? Were you just wanting to be present for the person?
Yeah, not looking at this was taking me out at the same time as I'm wanting to find the words, right?
Right.
So, because you want them to accurately reflect what you're hearing. And you want them to fit the model, but at the same time, if you're looking down here, you're not looking there. You know, it's
kind of like a
right.
TV clock.
Yeah, that's its own conflict.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just to me that speaks of, I mean, I didn't get any education that included needs, words, and vocabulary. So when I started learning MEC, I had a needs list, wherever I could access it regularly to really try to build up my vocabulary because of that very reason. I want to be able to meet people with my full presence and not have to be in my head trying to think a whole lot and so on. And that takes practice.
On that note, I'm going to take notes on my phone, so I'm not texting anyone
Oh.
on the phone here. It's actually my notes instead of writing it down. So just
Thank you for letting us know.
Well, I found it was really, really good when Susan found the right words. And so she found a lot of right words, and then she found a few words that didn't resonate at all. But I could really tell the difference between them, So that when you get the right word, it's a visceral feeling. It's not. When it's the wrong word, you're going, no, I don't think that doesn't.
When it was the wrong word, were you able to scan and see what really was the truth for you?
Well, because she'd already hit on some of the right words. So the wrong word wasn't connected to any right words, usually. Yeah, and the wrong words were like more of an intellectual thing, a left brain thing. So the right words for me were more emotional words. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so let's, just before a break though, I want to make sure I remember this, that again, this is a skill to learn. So if you're with someone and you're thinking, oh, it'd be so great if I could think of their needs right now, but I don't have my sheet, I don't have a need coming anywhere out of any left field or anything, then you can just say back what you're hearing. It's not often quite the same depth of linking that a need is, but it still is helpful. And it still shows that you're listening. And it's still within that same, I don't have to get it right. I can say, this is what I got. Please tell me if I missed anything. Also in that realm of, I don't want to come across as, I can't remember the word, patronizing or something else. Condescending. I really get that. And so I'll often say, can I see if I'm understanding you? So that they have some choice and they also get my intention. I'm going to reflect here because I want to know if I'm understanding you. So I use that phrase a lot as a way to start. So if I say, can I see if I'm understanding you? And say, yeah, then I start making needs guesses. Or I just tell them back what I've heard if I don't have any needs guesses.
I'm guessing that slows down the ping-ponging?
It slows it down, but it also is a way to hopefully they don't feel like I'm doing the condescending thing, that I'm actually just really trying to connect.
Trying to relate.
And then with that, yeah, I'm just trying to relate. In that same realm, I'll finish with, is that close? Did I get it? Is there anything I missed? You know.
Which invites them.
Invites them to really be differentiated, be their own person, to feel like they're in charge. And if they still say, wow, it feels like you're condescending, then I could say, oh, do you need respect here?
No, I want to know who I'm talking to.
Wow.
Spit out your truth.
Then they're wanting some, like, where's this guy? I don't want it to be all about me. So they're wanting some connection, they're wanting shared, whatever you want.
Yeah, connection.
Connection.
Well, that reflects, I'm going to say this, reflects a need for authenticity because I have a son who would be the one looking at the man behind the curtain all the time. If you're trying to use some formula, anything approximate to a formula, and he'll call you on it instantly.
Yeah.
So, you can't be anything other than where you are right then, even if it's not fun. Right? Yeah.
That's then when I'm really clear. Okay, I'm going to try this reflective listening because I'm hoping it'll help. If it doesn't, let me know, and then we'll try something else. So let's try a 10-minute bathroom break. One, 2, 3, 4, and stop. Thank you.
Very well done.
Very well done. Wow!
It's a fun game. It's old regular part.
Okay, so let's recap a little bit. So, new person? Oh. Right, new person. Would you be willing to just tell us your name and anything you would like us to know about you, just so you can be welcomed into the circle?
Oh, my name's Joanne, and I'm just friends with the Santa filming.
Okay, Joanne?
Yeah, Joanne.
Welcome, Joanne. I'm glad you made it. So our intentions for today were to introduce compassionate communication, which is also known as nonviolent communication, or NVC, and then restorative systems and restorative circles. And with compassionate communication, we're exploring particularly how to use our attention and our energy and our words to calm upsets and to deepen connection. So we've already explored that, but by putting our attention on what the other person's saying and what's most important to them, a lot of people, it sounded like we're having a deeper sense of connection with themselves and with the other person. And I just put a handout around that's called Resonant Empathy for Another. It goes into it in a little more detail. I'm not going to go over this right now because you can just read this on your own. I want to save our time for more practice. But we can also use compassionate communication to calm and to connect more deeply on our own, and that's called self-empathy. And we might get some time later to try that. We'll see how the day goes. The other thing we also touched on already is this idea of differentiation and linking. Differentiation means that each person is their own unique being, and each person has their own needs, their own feelings, their own personality, their own dreams and desires. And we're not responsible for other people's needs and feelings. That's part of differentiation as well. But linking means I care about another person's feelings and needs. So sometimes people over-differentiate, you might say, by saying, I'm not responsible for your feelings and needs, you deal with it. You know, it's not my stuff. Well, there's obviously not going to be a lot of linking. I mean, look at me, I'm just, it's very linking. Other times there's over-linking, where it's all about, what are your needs, what are you feeling, and what can I do, how can I help, and completely forget that I have needs and feelings too. So, relationship and the practice of compassionate communication is, again, trying to balance both. What we did before the break was something called empathy in nonviolent communication, listening for needs. In nonviolent communication, it's also listening for feelings, but I like to really focus on needs first. If we don't get to the needs and we're only reflecting the feelings, my experience generally is not as connecting, and it's not as relaxing and soothing as well. The part of the brain, the amygdala, that generates emotions, it really gets soothed by being understood at the level of needs. One other thing my train of thought there.
Can I say a little bit about
Please.
if we stay with just the emotion words, I kind of like to think of feelings as the waves on the ocean and the currents, movement underneath are the needs, universal drive. So if we just stay with the activity and agitation up here, then we don't get to what's driving the waves.
Good one.
I remember what I was going to say now. So we were practicing empathy, and there are two contexts generally for empathy. One is what I call supportive empathy. And what I mean by that is that someone's got some challenge going on. Let's say Jenna's got a challenge at work. And she really wants to get into what's most important, get into the current beneath all the waves. And she's having a hard time, and she says to me, Eric, do you have some time to give me some empathy? And if I do, then I'm going to give her supportive empathy, which means that she's going to tell me whatever she wants to tell me about work, and I'm going to do what we all just did before the break. I wonder, Jenna, are you needing more choice, or more depth, more meaning? And she's going to tell me, and I'm going to make other needs guesses, and so on. That's what I call supportive empathy. In that context, I don't have really anything to do with her situation. I don't work with her. I'm not part of it. So I can really more easily give her my attention just flowing this way, as long as we just work on that wafer of awareness. The other context is where Jenna comes to me and she's got an issue with something that involves me. Whatever that might be. Maybe I forgot an appointment, or I'm always late, or something like that. Now, I still want to be able to hear her needs and do the same thing. Jenna, you need reliability. You need to know that you matter here. But I'm going to have needs that I want her to hear as well. So now I'm really working harder to balance these two things. And at some point I'm going to say, I'd really like to be heard as well. Are you willing to hear what's going on for me? And often, but not always, but often, if someone has just received a bunch of needs, guesses, and empathy, that relaxes them and helps them feel more connected, and that gives them more willingness to now also hear my needs. Not always easy, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, that when we get triggered, when we get upset, generally what we want is to speak and be heard. So you got two people trying to get empathy. And then sometimes we need to pause, or we need to call in support, and so on. If any have questions about what I'm sharing there about empathy, those two contexts.
The names again, or one was supportive empathy and the other was?
The other one I call empathy, dialogue. I don't know if I have a real name for it.
Or
Empathy.
involves the other person.
Where I'm invested in getting, I call it empathy during dialogue, because it's a dialogue. I'm trying to speak my honesty, but also hear what her honesty is. Or I could say, I'm trying to get across what's most important to me, and I really care about what's most important. Other questions?
In that situation where if I had something that I was kind of really irritated by or something that was kind of up for me that I wanted to talk to Eric about first, I actually might turn to my friend Mika and actually get empathy from her first about that so that I feel more regulated. I don't quite feel so intense about it. And then I can be in a better place to express myself with more clarity and maybe more compassion to Eric and probably be able to hear what's up for him. Because he likes that. And actually create more connection between us instead of me coming at him with this all this irritation really alive. I might go and sort that out somewhere else first using the empathy process.
That's so precious to me. So she's getting supportive empathy first, because Mika's not involved in the situation. And then she's having a dialogue of empathy because she's gotten empathy first.
And I still care about feeling more connected here, like I wasn't in whatever that situation was causing this. I want to restore that.
This is the way I work a lot with people in my life who don't want to work through things, right? Who don't really want to give me empathy or connect more intimately and so on. I don't want to force them to do things. I mean, sometimes I do, but ultimately I don't really. And so I'll go and turn to an empathy buddy, someone who can, and I'll just speak about it, and then if I get enough empathy, I can usually go back to that person in a different state and be able to find ways to meet them where they're at. So that's one of the ways I practice NVC actually, is not actually using the words, but that intention of connection.
I was just thinking how sometimes when we want empathy from a person, we want them to agree with us.
Yeah.
And then they take our side, and it isn't really that helpful in a way, is it? And I know I kind of struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because I hear the person and I go, yeah, it's just, but then I kind of regret that because I've sort of have fueled their ego, I guess, but not really. Just re-entrenching what's already, what they're already struggling with.
Yeah.
But sometimes I would have to say something like having been in counseling before where I felt like, it's just merit. If it doesn't move me along, it doesn't move me forward. It's just reflecting back. Like move past
Right.
and get some tools to move past that.
For new information.
Yeah.
So first, I just want to come back. I can't see your name.
Oh, April,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
It sounded like what you're saying is when you're the listener, and you're just kind of agreeing with their story, that doesn't
Yeah.
really feel connected to you.
Yeah.
You're really wanting to help them out of their current.
Yeah, like I can see the big difference
Yeah.
between this
Yeah.
supportive empathy.
Right. And then Joanne, it sounds like you're adding to that by saying that you also want to help someone move forward beyond the story and get to
Yeah.
something that's more connected as well. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do another little game here. This is a little more lighthearted. But before we do that, if we come back to that context of supportive empathy, it doesn't even have to be either context. If you think of a lot of times where you've opened up about some challenge and someone has responded to you, or someone has opened up to you with a challenge, what are the types of responses that you're more familiar with? So if I say to Mika, man, I have so much emails, I can't.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I am so snowed under.
So what would we call that kind of response?
Sympathy?
It could be, yeah, that's in the realm of sympathy, yeah.
Collusion.
Collusion.
And she's talking about herself now and not about you.
Yeah. Just sharing her story.
Redirect.
Yeah.
Redirect and
Actually, I'm skipping ahead. We're going to hand these out first.
Oh.
But let's just pull out a few more. What are other that you can think of? So we got sympathy. We've got sharing her own story.
It's like grabbing the ball away and
Yeah.
walking.
You're minimizing.
Minimizing, maybe. That's another example. Yeah.
Everybody has that problem, not
Everybody
just
has,
you.
yeah, that's
Here, I
another.
have this new email system, it's amazing, it will solve all your
Fixing.
problems.
Oh, fixing, yeah,
Fixing.
yeah.
Actually. Story for you.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand out these cards, and each of them has an example of a different kind of response. So one of them is consoling. So it's kind of like, who are you? Who are you? Yeah, you're such a victim here.
But you feel really nice sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm not, these are not wrong. No, I don't want to tell you, these are not wrong, these are not bad, these just aren't empathy. So another one is feed the fire. Feed the fire is like, you don't agree with your story, you add to it. You got let control!
It's just crazy, people are just hooked to their iPhones.
Yeah, there's so much social media. So feed the fire, and then there's analyze.
How many emails do you get a day, Eric?
Yeah. Or
Who's the biggest email sender, because you just need to delete them.
and then we already have the minimizing, which on this card says shutting down. Don't make such a big deal of it.
No big deal.
We got educating.
Did you
Attention
know?
on what's wrong is that's not healthy. Or sorry, go ahead.
Did you know?
Oh, yeah.
We have ordering. Just stop complaining about
Just
it.
don't open your laptop.
Do something about it. Get one of those. We have gathering data. When gathering, that's familiar. Like, is this a problem regularly that you fixate on technology? This one? One up.
Oh, that's nothing. I was on vacation and I couldn't even open my.
Got the advice card.
All right.
We've got distract and avoid.
Hey, what about for lessons?
We have the storyteller. We have the correcting the story.
That's not what I heard.
I heard you spend all your time on Facebook. And then I'm gonna add a blank one here because I don't have a card for it yet. And we're gonna call it coaching, which is the what's one thing you could do right now?
Sorry, can I trade in my card? Because this is my default answer. You know what you should do? I mean, I don't need to practice that.
So,
okay.
so Meek and I are going to give you a little
Also
demo,
told me.
and you see how many of these. We're going to see how many of these we can fit in, basically. So we're going to ask you to name the ones we managed to cover.
Okay, so I'm remembering the times I've lived in a housing co-op. And man, I was on the membership committee for like years, and it was the same 3 people doing all the work, trying to fill all the units. And
Did you speak up and tell them that we need to?
I was burnt out, but someone had to do the work, and it was always down to the 3 of us.
Oh man.
And I was just sick of it. I didn't
Were
even
they a
care any of
bunch
it.
of lazy?
I don't know. It's always, don't you find that in any organization? It's just like this little group of people doing everything?
Yeah, what I find is that they actually are trying to win the approval of everybody by doing everything, and they think that they're better than others.
I'd like to call it pause. Why are you feeling? They're coming off. If we didn't jump in and do it, who would do it?
Yeah.
There's not enough volunteers. Where's the participation in this place?
What I find is the problem is that all of the information just goes out through email, and it's like do this and do this, and there isn't any. The whole reason for being on college isn't it to be more connected?
But you want to add more to our workload? Like not only do we have to do all the tasks, but we have to go get that extra stuff and involve people? Like, are you, it's already like this, and you want me to do more?
Yes.
I know we gotta do something different, but I'm burnt out.
Hey, have you had any lunch yet?
No, I'm totally tired.
Okay.
So should I do a little bit for you? Are you saying that you don't feel included in what's happening? Like you don't, you just see it.
Yeah, I think like the decisions are just getting made and shoved down our throat, and that we're supposed to follow orders. And I don't see any place where I get to have a say in what's happening.
Why do we post all our meetings up? It's not like we're shutting the door.
Well, I just find that at the meetings, no one's asking for my input.
Oh. Well, you know, you could do more to educate yourself on what we've been doing.
I think that, I'm having a hard time saying this.
You need to go.
I don't trust that if I really speak up, anyone's going to care what I have to say.
That makes me stop at my tracks. It came from a vulnerable place. Feeling some shame, some guilt, just sadness. The intention is to live together, but yeah, just with all their best intentions, people aren't fully being able to show up is really sad.
So I'm hearing your sadness for you because you really want to have your intentions understood and have all of our intentions actually just expressed.
Yeah, just love it when there's so much human potential, and if we could all work together, you know, it would lighten the load for everybody and we'd have more creative solutions. And I'm just a little confused and tired and don't know how to make that happen.
So you're longing for collaboration, clarity, maybe just more support.
Yeah, more support. Sense that we're not in it alone, the volunteers.
We'll pause again. So what are some other responses you heard before we went into the more compassion and empathy there?
Educating.
Educating, thank you, yeah.
Giving advice.
Giving advice.
Gathering data
Gathering.
in the beginning.
Data.
I heard a little feed the fire.
Feed the fire, yeah.
Distraction. Avoidance. Haven't had lunch yet.
Great. So what I'm going to invite you to do, just to play with this a little bit yourselves, is to each have a card, and you're going to talk about something that's about a 3 out of 10 in terms of how painful it is for you. So don't talk about a really painful thing, because you're not going to get empathy. You're going to get something.
So mild irritation.
Mild irritation. Thank you. Yeah. And your partner, you're going to mingle around, find a partner, and I'm going to share my mild irritation. I'll come back to this guy has so much email, I can't keep up with it, and she's going to respond based on that card.
Yeah. Does this happen on Mondays usually? Or how long has it been happening? Is it since you opened up that new?
And then that's one side of the turn, and then Mika's going to share her mild irritation.
Oh boy, I just I gotta find something I'm mildly irritated about. I just can't stand how everybody walks around with Starbucks mugs, like, or just the paper, the paper cups everywhere.
You know, if you focus too much on that, it can really bring down your mood. Pay attention on positive things of your Think of the universe. So then we're going to switch cards. We're done our turn.
Okay.
We're going to go and find a new partner
Okay.
and do the exact same thing.
Okay.
And then
With
we're
a
gonna-
mild irritation.
With a mild irritation. It can be the same one, or you can choose another mild irritation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So all you're doing is one sentence or two sentences about your mild irritation, one or two sentences based on this card. And then switch. And switch the card. Yeah.
Cool.
Any questions? Okay, go ahead. It's mingling around.
I was driving and I stopped. I stopped after the stoplight and the skateboarder came whistling by. And wasn't safe. Sorry.